I don't disagree that we have to take on the debt and we have to pay down the debt and reduce the interest payments. And the only thing I take issue with...
Does this budget do it?
I think we get to the point where we...
Does it do it?
It gets us to the point where we stop adding to the problem with our new spending. And that's...
The debt goes up every year, and the deficit is... the debt is increased, is doubled over this period.
I just think that if we're going to have the kind of conversation we need to have to resolve this, we have to have it in a way where we respect each other, and I respect your position, Senator.
Well, I can't respect a position that suggests this budget reduces the debt. If you take that position, we're talking beyond each other. The Wall Street Journal said about this budget, it's detached from reality as who...
No, we stopped adding to the debt with our new...
Oh, forgive me, Mr. Chairman, but this is I don't think it's a matter of opinion. I believe, Mr. Lieu, it's flatly in error, and it cannot continue, and I hope the President and he never repeats that this budget balances at any point in the 10 years. Mr. Zients, isn't it true that the current law, which included the Budget Control Act, the legislation that passed as part of raising the debt limit, that your budget spends more money than than Congress proposed to spend through the Budget Control Act process over the next 10 years?
As I showed earlier, we have $5 trillion deficit reduction.
Do you propose to spend more money over the next 10 years than the Budget Control Act current law would cause us to spend?
I think what we have is a much more honest baseline, a baseline that has SGR, AMT, not patched year over year, but extended through the period.
You don't pay for the SGR, the doc fix. That's not paid for. But let's go back to the simple question I ask you. Does your plan spend more money over the next 10 years than the agreement in current law that we reached just last August?
The baseline here
yes or no?
Is where we're doing, I think what you got to focus on here is the bottom line, and we're taking deficits down to 2.8% of GDP.
So you're not answering my question. I ask a simple question. You're the director of the OMB. Does your budget call for spending more money?
That our budget is a more honest budget that looks at what's happening in a business-as-usual basis. Each year we're passing the AMT.
Will the witness not answer this simple question? I just ask a simple question.
It's a more accurate reflection of what we're going to spend.
Will it spend more or less?
It'll actually spend less money because of the deficit reduction that we have and a baseline that reflects the current policy.
Because of deficit reduction that can only be assumed that's caused by increased taxes. But let's go back. We've looked at the numbers, and your budget increases spending by $1.5 trillion more than the budget agreement last year, and it's in a lot of different places. You do make cuts in some places out there, but your net is to increase spending more than the current law, and that is not the path we need to be on. And the increase in taxes you propose, almost $2 trillion, is used to pay for that spending.
So I want to be crystal clear here. We are complying by the BCA. There will be $2 trillion of deficit reduction from the BCA. You've brought up taxes a few times. We absolutely believe in a balanced approach.
Well, let me ask you this. If you are incorrect in saying that you do not increase spending more than current law, would you consider resigning your office?
Let me go back to the balanced approach.
If we look at the numbers, are you that confident in your
I'm confident that with our baseline, which accurately reflects current policy and business as usual, that we have deficit reduction of more than $4 trillion, and we do it in a balanced way. For every $2.50 of spending cuts, there's $1 of revenue. That's a good balanced approach.
Mr. Zients, there is no spending cuts in this budget. This budget increases spending. Surely you know that. It increases taxes. So to say you cut $2.50 in spending for every dollar in tax increase is beyond the pale. The question is, do you spend more than was agreed to in the spending limits of the Ron Murray bill?
We propose an initiative that would be paid for to do that,
And you would spend $56 billion more.
only if paid for.
But do you not agree that the Ryan Murray law didn't say paid for? It simply limited the amount of spending. And you're spending over the amount that that bill allows to be spent.
Senator, when the caps were put in place, and I had the opportunity to work with the caps in the first round when I was at OMB, much of why the caps were put in place was about deficit reduction.
No,
And
you're
when
talking
one-
about, you're theorizing about the purpose of it. The law limited spending, did it not? And you are spending over what the law requires.
Senator, only if the Congress would choose to pass a law that would alter that. Our budget comes in at the levels of the...
So you're proposing that we alter Ryan Murray so you can spend $56 billion more next year alone?
What we are proposing...
Yes or no? Is that correct?
We propose a paid-for
Question,
initiative.
can't you answer that question simply? Yes or no? Do you propose to spend $56 billion more than Ryan Murray allows, and you're proposing that we change Ryan Murray to allow you to do so? Yes or no?
Senator, we do propose a change in the law that would be fully paid for, that would invest in the things that we believe are necessary for the economic health of the nation.
So you're spending $56 billion more, and you're going to raise taxes to pay for it, and you think that's acceptable?
Senator, we believe...
And I just want you to know, ask you to tell the American people, do you want to spend more than the president agreed to when he signed Ryan Murray 10 weeks ago?
Senator, we signed Ryan
You look
Murray...
real innocent the way you look at me here, like you don't know what I'm talking about. Can't you just simply answer the question? Yes or no? Do you intend to spend more than Ryan Murray, and will that not require an amending of the law to allow you to do so?
It will require an amending of the law.
And it will spend $56 billion more.
Not against the...
I'm not talking about paid for. I'm not talking about budgets. I'm just saying, are you spending more than the law allows currently?
Senator, it, I believe, makes a very big difference.
Why can't you say yes or no to that?
Senator, because I think that some questions aren't simply
Well, you've had
yes or
your
no
explanation. Now I'm just asking yes or no.
Senator,
Are you paying more or less?
I think there are some questions that are not simply yes or no questions.
This
And therefore,
one is a yes or no question. You're refusing to answer it. I will answer it. The answer is that you're asking us to raise the spending limits by changing the Ryan Murray law so you can spend even more than you agreed to spend 10 weeks ago. And this is the way a nation goes broke. I agree with Senator Sanders that the middle class is really hurting. Working Americans today are not doing well. Since 2000, the 2007 median income in America is down $4,000 for income for a family. This is catastrophic. This is absolutely one of the most dangerous trends we've seen in some time. And it's accelerated over the last decade. It's accelerated under your president's, our president's watch, Mr. Donovan. The problem is your policies. Tax more, spend more, borrow more, regulate more, Obamacare more, and an immigration policy that dominates the market with workers from abroad when we don't have enough jobs for American workers, pulling down wages of Americans. That's what's caused this problem, in my opinion. And that's where we disagree, Senator Sanders. We got a problem, but your ideas will not work. They will never work. Now, Mr. Donovan, reckless spending endangers the future of the Republic. As Mr. Elmendorf has told us, we remain on an unsustainable debt course. Let me ask you this simple question. Does your budget spend more or less than we agreed to with President Obama and the Budget Control Act of 2011?
Our budget overall reduces spending relative to current law expectations.
I just asked a simple question. You work for the taxpayers, Mr. Donovan. I'm asking you on their behalf a simple question. Does your budget spend more money next year than the current law of the Budget Control Act allows?
Overall, our budget reduces spending compared to current law.
Overall, your budget spends $74 billion more next year than allowed by current law. Isn't that true?
I think what you're focused on, Senator, is discretionary spending. And I think that there is broad agreement that
That's what the Budget Control Act covers.
That sequestration is hurting our military readiness. The Joint Chiefs of Staff testified to that this past week. And it is hurting our ability to invest in the things
You
that
work
will
for the
grow our
American
economy.
people, Mr. Donovan. I ask you, do you propose spending more money next year on discretionary accounts than was agreed to in the Budget Control Act? Yes or no? Can you not answer that question?
I believe I've answered it, Senator.
No, you
We're
haven't
proposing
answered
to reverse sequestration.
On
And our budget fully pays for those increased investments on the discretionary side with mandatory spending reductions and cutting spending, wasteful spending in the tax code.
Well, one of the ways you fix a budget problem is when you agree to a spending limit, you stick to it. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Let's just see if we can get this straight. The American people need to know. Do you propose to spend more next year than the Budget Control Act would allow?
We propose to lift the sequestration caps, which have been harmful to our military readiness, that have been harmful to economic growth. We more than fully pay for those with reductions in spending on the mandatory side and reducing wasteful spending in the tax code.
So you intend to spend more than we agreed to. That's all I want you to say. Will you say that?
Our budget proposes
Why won't you say
more
that?
than
What is it about
400
this that allows you to continue in that way?